They say every secret has a keeper. But what if that keeper isn't some random stranger lurking in the shadows? What if it's the person who once knew your heart better than anyone else? For Meghan Markle, that keeper isn't a royal aide, not a nosy journalist, and definitely not a palace insider. No, it's the man who once called her his wife, Trevor Engelson. Before tiaras and royal titles, before palace gates and fairy tale kisses, there was Trevor, the Hollywood producer who fell head over heels for a bright, magnetic actress whose charm could light up any room. Meghan wasn't just beautiful, she was captivating, smart, ambitious. She carried this spark that made everyone around her believe she was destined for something big. But what Trevor didn't realize back then was that Meghan didn't just dream. She calculated. She didn't just move forward. She erased whatever was behind her. Their love story ended long before the world even knew her name. But Trevor didn't walk away empty-handed. Oh no, he walked away with memories and receipts. He carried with him stories of the Meghan that existed before the Duchess, the version no palace press release would ever acknowledge. And among those memories, there's one night, one explosive night that refuses to fade away. Toronto, 2016, the night that almost blew up Meghan's royal fairy tale before it even began. But to understand that night, we have to rewind to where it all started. Flashback, Jamaica, 2011. The sun was blazing, the ocean sparkled like diamonds, and laughter danced through the air. Meghan Markle was glowing. She had just married Trevor Engelson. He adored her. He believed she was his forever. Their wedding? Oh, it wasn't just a celebration, it was an event. Palm trees, champagne, music, guests floating in that honeymoon haze of love and luxury. Everything felt light and free. But then, there was that one detail, the moment no one forgot. Amid all the dancing and laughter, Meghan sat down, rolled up her sleeves, and started rolling joints. Not one, not 10, 100 perfectly rolled joints for her guests. People laughed at the time. "Oh, that's Meghan. So fun, so chill, so cool," they said. But years later, that story wouldn't sound so carefree. It became something else, a symbol. Because that wasn't just a silly, rebellious act, it was control. Even on her wedding day, Meghan wasn't just a bride. She was managing the vibe. She knew what people wanted before they even said it. She curated the mood. She orchestrated the energy. To Trevor, it probably seemed harmless. But to those who knew her later, that moment became a glimpse into who Meghan really was. The curator, the controller, the woman who didn't just attend the party, she ran it. And that same energy, the precision, the charm, the quiet control, would resurface 5 years later, on a night that could have changed royal history forever. Toronto, 2016. Picture this. Meghan's living in a chic apartment downtown, filming Suits. Prince Harry's just flown in for a secret visit. No press, no palace permission, just two people falling in love behind drawn curtains. But behind those closed doors, something else was brewing. Insiders whispered about a run. Now, in Toronto nightlife terms, that wasn't about jogging or dinner. A run meant indulgence. A night of music, secrecy, and substances. The kind of gathering that existed behind whispers and unmarked doors. And Meghan? According to those who knew her back then, she wasn't just invited, she was organizing it. Then came the shocker, the name that turned whispers into panic. Princess Eugenie. No one knows for sure if Eugenie was involved or if her name got tangled up by mistake. But even the rumor was enough to send a chill down palace halls. Because one wrong headline, one leaked photo, and boom, the royal family would have been shattered. Harry's reputation was already fragile after the infamous Vegas scandal. If this story had broken, one linking him, Meghan, and a royal cousin to an illegal party, that engagement would have died before it was ever proposed. Something went wrong that night. A close call, someone talked, or someone saw something they shouldn't have. By dawn, what was supposed to be a carefree night turned into a cover-up operation. Suddenly there were no photos, no witnesses, no trace of the event, just silence. And in the world of celebrity and royalty, silence means power. Strings were pulled, fast, hard, money changed hands, phones rang in the dark, and within hours, poof, it was gone. The palace had too much to lose, and Meghan's ascent was too valuable to risk. But those who were there, they never forgot. Because that night, the night Toronto almost burned, was the moment the world almost met the Meghan Trevor had always known. The calm, calculating woman who could walk through fire and come out without a single spark on her dress. That night was her test, and her warning. After the fire, after that night, Meghan's world changed, but not in the way headlines would show. There were no public scandals, no leaks, no damage control, but quietly, almost surgically, she began erasing. Numbers disappeared from her phone, friends stopped getting texts, photos vanished from social media. The people who once filled her Toronto apartment with laughter and wine suddenly found themselves ghosted. Even some of her family, people who'd spent birthdays and holidays with her, were suddenly shut out. To outsiders, it looked like success, like a woman cleaning up her circle, stepping into her next big chapter. But to those who knew her, it felt cold. It felt deliberate, like she wasn't just moving forward, she was locking every door behind her. Trevor saw it all before. He'd lived it. Right after their divorce, Meghan didn't just move on, she deleted the evidence she'd ever been there. Emails unanswered, belongings mailed back in tidy boxes, friends quietly divided. It wasn't heartbreak, it was strategy. Each version of Meghan lived in its own sealed world, and once she evolved, the old one was gone forever. By the time she went public with Harry, the Meghan Trevor once knew, the girl who rolled joints at her wedding and ruled Toronto's parties, no longer existed. Not because she'd changed, but because she'd erased herself. The power shift. When Meghan met Prince Harry, she didn't step into his world. She invited him into hers. Harry had always been the wild prince, the one who partied in Vegas, made headlines, chased chaos. He was the royal rebel no one could tame. But Meghan? She didn't try to tame him. She did something far more dangerous. She made his chaos safe. Insiders say Meghan gave Harry what no one else could: freedom without consequences. She knew how to make indulgence invisible, how to hide messes, how to make danger look like romance. To Harry, she wasn't just a girlfriend, she was an escape route. But here's the thing about escapes. Eventually, they become prisons, because the person who protects your secrets owns them. And that's what Meghan mastered. She became the gatekeeper of Harry's freedom, the one person who could destroy him just by telling the truth. So when people wonder why Harry seems to follow her lead so completely, maybe the answer isn't just love, maybe it's loyalty born from fear, because no one else knows what she's covered for him. And that kind of bond, it's unbreakable and terrifying. By now, Meghan Markle wasn't just a duchess, she was a phenomenon. Every camera flash told a story. Every headline painted her as the girl who conquered the palace, the actress who turned into a royal, the woman who took on the crown and won. But for those who had known her before the carriages and the Commonwealth tours, that woman on magazine covers looked different. Too different. Trevor Engelson, the man who once kissed her goodnight, had seen this pattern before. Because Meghan didn't just reinvent herself. She rebuilt herself over and over until no one could recognize the pieces that came before. To her Hollywood friends, she had been the hustler, the dreamer, the actress with a sparkle in her eyes and a vision in her head. To her Toronto circle, she was the heartbeat of every night, organizing, charming, making magic happen behind closed doors. To the palace, she became the perfect duchess, graceful, composed, polished. And to Harry, she was everything he wasn't: steady, in control, fearless. The tabloids called it a Hollywood glow-up. But in the corners of Toronto and Hollywood where old friends still murmured over drinks, a different story circulated. They claimed the surgeries weren't for beauty, they were for repair. That years of indulgent nights had left traces no amount of foundation could hide. That the transformation wasn't just about fitting into the royal mold, but about covering tracks. The whispers said too much, about late nights, white lines, and choices made behind closed doors. She learned early that power doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being untouchable. And she built that untouchable image brick by brick. Each connection, each reinvention, each erased name forming part of her wall. Behind that wall stands a woman who knows exactly who she is and exactly what she had to bury to stay there. Trevor's memories of laughter, of secrets, of nights that blurred into morning are just fragments of the puzzle, but they're the pieces the world was never meant to see. And the cracks in that polished wall, they're beginning to show. Because the more we learn, the clearer it becomes. Meghan didn't stumble into fame. She engineered it. She built her legacy like a business plan. Every relationship, every reinvention, every sacrifice was a move on a chessboard, and now standing at the top, she's still playing. Soho House and the shadows, whispers from the inside circles. Those who dined beside her at Soho House, who saw her glide from table to table with that soft laugh and sharp gaze, say Meghan was never just mingling, she was positioning. Every conversation, every introduction, every glance had purpose. Soho House wasn't just a hangout spot. It was her stage, her launch pad. That's where connections were built, where alliances formed, and where rumors, dangerous, delicious rumors, were born. She knew exactly who to charm, when to listen, and when to disappear. That's what made her unstoppable, because Meghan didn't just survive Hollywood, she conquered it quietly. And when the palace came calling, she was already fluent in the one language the royals truly understood: image, the price of perfection. But here's the haunting part of it all. Every reinvention comes with a cost. Every time Meghan rose higher, another version of her disappeared. The girl who laughed until sunrise, gone. The friend who called just to talk, gone. The family member who thought they'd always be welcome, gone. Each version of her life got sealed off, airtight, so that no one could ever trace the woman she once was. To the world, that looked like strength, but to those who once stood close, it looked like vanishing. And Trevor, he knew that once Meghan decided to move forward, she didn't look back. It wasn't cruelty, it was method. She didn't just cut ties, she sterilized them, so no one could ever pull her back to the past she left behind. The empire of reinvention. Now, Meghan Markle stands as one of the most polarizing women in the world. Loved, hated, admired, misunderstood, every emotion the public can feel, she evokes it. Because no matter what people say, she's fascinating. She's a woman who mastered the art of control, of storytelling, of reinvention. Behind the crown and the causes, behind the interviews and the perfect poses, stands a strategist who turned her life into an empire, and her image into armor. Every smile is deliberate, every silence is calculated, every truth is edited just enough to be unprovable. She is, in many ways, the perfect illusion, but even illusions cast shadows. The question that lingers. As Trevor Engelson once said to a close friend, "The world knows the Duchess, but I knew the girl before her." And that's what makes Meghan's story so haunting. Because no matter how many times she rewrites it, no matter how many documentaries, interviews, or memoirs she releases, there's always that lingering whisper in the dark. If this is what she erased, then what's still out there waiting to be uncovered?